Hello, my name is Joey Avena. I'm here at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta, Georgia to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of The Room. Now, for those of you uninitiated, The Room has been credited as one of the worst films ever made, but despite this, it actually has garnered a large following and has been selling out to populated crowds all over the world. So, why do people keep coming back to this film 20 years later? We're just gonna have to find out ourselves, after I get my hair out of the way.
Okay, hold on. Before we jump right in, we at least need to know what we're getting into first. So let's start with the main man of the show, Tommy Wiseau.
Hi, this is Tommy Wiseau, creator of The Room. Let me introduce you to the new Joker.
I'd say that Tommy serves as the biggest piece to the puzzle surrounding the legend of The Room, partly due to the fact we don't really know much about him. Well, even though little is known about his background or the source of the $6 million he used to make the movie, we do know one thing. Tommy had a vision to create a film that would touch the hearts of audiences worldwide. And he was very particular about this vision, seeing as he wrote, produced, and directed the movie. I assume all on his own?
Hi, babe.
Either way, the more you look into it, it becomes very clear that the film is a labor of love for Wiseau, despite its unconventional execution. With all its disjointed narrative,
I got the results of the test back. I definitely have breast cancer.
melodramatic performances,
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
as well as the infamous dialogue,
Anyway, how is your sex life?
it's easy to dismiss The Room as a mere disaster. But I say nay. For behind the chaotic scenes lies an unwavering passion for filmmaking that still goes on to this day.
My blue baby. Oh, I can lick it. Oh.
But if we're going to talk briefly about the plot for a second, it's best that I just read the back of the DVD. The Room is an electrifying black comedy about love, passion, betrayal, and lies. It's what happens in real life. You could be with your loving woman and all of a sudden, boom! She's in bed with your best friend or a family member. The Room depicts the depths of friendships and relationships in one's life and realizes life's real and most asked question. Can you really trust anyone? Are you ready to see reflections of your life? Wow. What a story, Mark. Oh, by the way, I should also mention that when I got the DVD, it came with a sexy headshot of Tommy Wiseau. Oh, and of course, an advertisement for his underwear line. You can't forget that.
Me underwears.
Oh, and I should also mention this movie has like 4 sex scenes and a blowjob scene. I mean, thankfully you don't like see much, but all I'm saying is don't watch it with your parents. It's not a fun time. Okay, but now that we've actually gotten ourselves a bit more acquainted with one of the greatest pieces of art ever made, I feel like now is the time to ask the fans what they think is so special about The Room.
So what do you think is so special about The Room?
I think The Room brings people together. Like, you never know who's a Room fan, but when you start quoting, different lines from it, you start building like friendships and camaraderie that you might never know existed.
You're just a chicken. Chip, 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 chip. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
I mean, it's just a lot of fun memories for me. I was shown The Room, I think, when I was 22, just graduated from college, in my friend's apartment. We were all just laughing our heads off. And now this is the second screening I've been to, and they're just a lot of fun, a lot of good energy,
Yeah, it's such a weird, the script doesn't match the quality of it.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
And it's one of those things, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, let's just pretend for a second that I don't get it. Why is this movie from 2003 creating so much buzz whenever it's shown in theaters? Well, I decided it was time to take a more direct approach with my research. Enter Greg Sestero. Greg became close friends with Tommy when he was just 19 and ended up moving with him to Los Angeles to become big movie stars. And in a way, their dreams really did come true. Greg is still acting today, and he's doing a damn fine job at it too. But his most iconic role is that of Mark. In the film, Mark serves as Johnny's best friend, and he loves to remind the audience of that.
Johnny's my best friend.
I like you very much, Mark.
Oh, come on, Johnny's my best friend.
Who is he?
His best friend.
I'm so happy I have you as my best friend, and I love Lisa so much.
Johnny's my best friend.
I know. He's your best friend.
But eventually, they end up turning on each other after Johnny's wife, Lisa, starts an affair with Mark.
If you keep your girl satisfied, she will come to me.
Get out my house. I kill you. I'll bring him in full head.
But why do I bring up Greg, leave your stupid comments in your pocket, Sestero? I bring him up because before the much anticipated showing, I actually got a chance to sit down and have a discussion with him about The Room and his future projects. And I'm proud to present that footage to you now.
Today I hold the pleasure of speaking with Greg Sestero, co-star of The Room. He's an actor, writer, producer, and director whose work span from film to critically acclaimed memoir, The Disaster Artist. So, Mr. Sestero, how does it feel to be celebrating the 20-year anniversary of The Room?
It feels very surreal for obviously many reasons, but most of all, back in 2003, it was a movie I didn't think anyone would ever see. I mean, it was one of those things, you make a movie with your friend, you're trying to find your break, your start, and you're looking elsewhere. You think it's got to be in, like at the time, Terminator 3 or Dawson's Creek, and it's not where you're at the moment. And here we are 20 years later. It's taught me that whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing in that moment, focus on it because it could be important. Mm-hmm. And that's what I learned with The Room is you never know what people are going to respond to.
Yeah, I mean, I did end up being a break, and people are still talking about it 20 years later. I mean, I can't really believe I wasn't even able to get tickets to the show again because of how fast it sold out. But what do you think has been drawing people to this movie for the past 20 years?
I think it's originality because so many movies come out, they're studios, they're marketed, they're pushed, but this movie was so earnest in what it was trying to do. It was really trying to be a drama with the passion of Tennessee Williams, and when you see it, however misguided, it speaks to all of us in a very unique way. It works really well with a few drinks, and it has one of those really rare magical cringe factors that is really hard to obtain, and it just does that so well. And that's really what made me fall in love with Meeting Tommy was that cringe, that confidence, the quotability. It's just got all those intangibles that you cannot force.
Yeah, stuff like that can't be fabricated. So we've been talking with a few people around. It seems like the story, the backstory of The Room can either be seen as an inspiration or a train wreck. But sure. I see it as an inspiration. But how do you view it as somebody who was behind the scenes and was a huge part in making the movie?
You know, it's really easy to label things as a train wreck, and that's ultimately what a lot of people saw it as. But as time went on, as more and more people loved it, the word of mouth spread, it started screening around the world. Then you sort of need to sit back and be like, there's something really special here. Because people are responding to this. Why aren't they responding to all these other great movies supposedly from 2003? So then you start to realize what really separates movies and makes them last is passion. And great characters. And despite the characters on screen probably speak to each other in a quite an odd fashion, they still speak to people off screen in a way that like they want to dress up as the characters. So yeah, it's easy to say it's a bad movie, but to me, 20 years later, that's sort of the easy way out. You need to look deeper and be like, why are people still coming back to this on a Tuesday night in June? You know, it's just something that is intriguing to me as a filmmaker, as somebody who wants to make movies, wants to make good movies, and ultimately the success of any film is people showing up, good or bad. You have people here that want to see it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it gained word of mouth. I mean, your book, Disaster Artist, it became this huge movie. You actually got to sit down as well with a group of great actors like Bob Odenkirk, Kate Siegel, Mike Flanagan to effectively remake The Room for charity. Was it surreal at all to step back into the film, especially considering that you actually come at it from a completely different role than you played before?
Sure. Yeah, it's always great to work with people you look up to and admire, and it's rare. It's amazing that a movie that I made 20 years ago has brought you there. You know, it's however you get there. And I know for me, the most important chapter in this story came with my book, The Disaster Artist, because it was then my turn to contribute to this phenomenon. And so I knew the book had to be something that people would love and enjoy. And so that's what I really pushed for with the Disaster Artist. So I think that was my connection to a lot of these people. Like Mike Flanagan had read the book, Bob Odenkirk had read the book. So we were able to become friends through our work in that way. And I got to work on The Haunting of Bly Manor, and then we got to work with Bob. So it's been a really interesting way of getting there through a very roundabout way.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about connections in this business, or and any business really. But what I find interesting about the legacy of The Room is that a lot of actors would look at co-starring in like one of the proclaimed worst films of all time as a sort of setback for their career. But thankfully, you've actually been able to look at that as an advantage and use that to further your career and to keep acting and doing the things that you love. So how were you able to look at something like that and turn it into a positive?
Because I was always fascinated with The Room. I knew it wasn't people say it's the best, worst movie or whatever. That's a funny way to label it. But, a bad movie to me is one you just don't connect to and want to turn off immediately. That's to me a bad movie. You show anybody The Room, they're immediately giddy and like, the reaction is severe, whether they think it's ultra bad or ultra fascinating, there's a reaction. So I knew it wasn't like the worst movie. It was a fun thing that people called it that. But I was friends with Tommy 4 years before we made it. It was really our personal project. And I was somebody who saw Tommy as a fascinating, entertaining character. Very offbeat, maybe not a traditional character that people be drawn to, but I believed in him and whatever that was. So I was always fascinated by the persona and the people, how people would receive it. I didn't expect The Room to go anywhere. That put me in a very unique position because then your heart's not in it. You're not, whether it goes nowhere or it works, it doesn't really matter. So I was in a unique position to be an observer and take it all in and never take it personally. Another aspect I had that was in my corner was all I had done was Retro Puppet Master. So I didn't really have anything to lose at that point. So worst case, The Room never goes anywhere. You got nothing to lose. And if it picks up, then it gives you something to work with. So I was never intimidated by it. I was always more fascinated by it. And I knew when I was writing The Disaster Artist, I had a unique position because I could elevate the experience of The Room by telling a really unique and touching tale about friendship.
Yeah, I mean, the movie has a lot of soul too. Everybody I've ever shown it to, they immediately are hooked. They have never had a bored person when watching the movie. But you've stated that writing is a role that you have had a lot of interest in, and you even had your directorial debut a few years ago with Miracle Valley. So how would you describe your transition from primarily acting to writing and directing as well?
Acting was always something that I really wanted to do initially, and then it changed once I started writing because I realized storytelling gives you a great respect for all the characters. Just focus on your character. So with writing, I loved it because you could do it anywhere. You could get involved in each character's minds. You build the world. So I think writing for me was really a gift when I got to do The Disaster Artist versus just being an actor.
Yeah, and you actually have announced recently that your next project, Forbidden Sky, is going to be starting production soon. And you even stated that your performance in it will sort of be channeling your inner Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
So
sort of letting loose. I think a lot of times actors are caught in a bubble or they want to be something, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm just enjoying making stuff. And like I see that Nicolas Cage, I'm like, let me see if I can get there and try to do something different.
Yeah, and what I'm wondering about is that what is your specific interest in writing about the concept of aliens, especially coming off of a movie that was surrounded by the occult?
Yeah, I think aliens they tie in very much with that. No one really knows anything, but a lot of people think they do. And going on a UFO night tour, reading books, listening to podcasts, listening to Art Bell from Coast to Coast. Through the decades, so much has changed and grown, and I just love the passion behind UFOs. I love that people stormed the Area 51.
Yeah.
We all are like in the same boat. We're wondering, we're curious. We love the idea of them, and it's just fun to explore that and take on some of my love for some of these other films that I watch, like Galaxy Quest and Fire in the Sky. The fear of it, there's comedy in there, there's horror. So I'm really looking forward to diving into sci-fi and like giving people something unique.
Yeah, especially since that topic is just so unknown to humanity. But I do also want to mention that the Kickstarter for that is still up, I believe.
Yeah, we got a few days left, if you can believe it. We got a few days left. We're 93% there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of the last options is people get to, you and a friend get to fly to the set and be in a scene. So we're filming in Roswell, New Mexico. So look at it as like a little bonus vacation. So
yeah, it's awesome. I'll definitely have to have a link for that in the description. But I think it is also time to say thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for coming back again. And yeah, I really appreciate the support.
So what is it about The Room? Well, I think it's a story of a man that was determined to put out a movie, whether people wanted to see it or not. And I think that is beautiful. I've been Joey Avena. I mean, I still am Joey Avena, but you know what I mean. Thank you for watching. You pick your nose.
Like try to fit in or put pressure on us. That's what it is.